Hi, my name is Daniel Bogan, and today I'm here to talk to you about the accounting issues private equity firms and hedge funds propose to auditors. First, I will talk to you about what these two entities are. Secondly, the accounting issues they entail. And third, what regulations are in sight to kind of mitigate the risk of these financial instruments. Regulations are implemented to promote fair, efficient markets. The main goal of regulation is to protect less knowledgeable users from exploitation. As more first-time investors turn to the markets to secure their financial futures, the mission to protect these users grows more compelling. U.S. securities exchanges are maturing into global for-profit competitors. Consequently, there is an increasing need for sound market regulations. The world of investing is fascinating, however, it also is insecure. Unlike banking, in which deposits are guaranteed by the FDIC, investing in illiquid securities may result in financial loss. There are simply just no guarantees in this. The SEC was created in 1934 to ensure the reliability of financial information in an attempt to restore investor confidence. However, certain industries still today circumvent these regulations. Two of these highly scrutinized industries are hedge funds and private equity funds. Hedge funds are minimally regulated private investment partnerships that historically accept only high-wealth investors. Hedge funds operate under the belief that high-wealth investors are financially sophisticated and do not need or want to incur the additional administrative expenses that reporting to a regulatory agency incurs. Private equity consists of investors and funds that make investments directly into private companies. They conduct buys of public companies. Capital for private equity is raised from retail and institutional investors, high wealth. These investments can be used to fund new technologies, expand working capital, make more acquisitions, or simply strengthen a balance sheet. Private equity firms and hedge funds are similar in their investing methods. Both invest from a leveraged pool of capital, which is normally contributed by limited partners. Both compensate management based on percentage of profits. This is typically around 20%. And both charge a fee of asset management, which is typically 2%. Additionally, they are both lightly regulated. The most distinct difference between private equity firms and hedge funds is the manner in which they invest. Private equity firms invest primarily in longer-term illiquid assets with the intent to buy, grow, and exit these portfolio companies at a profit, the typical investment arrangement. Hedge funds, however, invest more in liquid securities. As such, these investments are held for a shorter duration, sometimes even just seconds. These hedge funds also present no intent to fundamentally alter the course or direction of a direct investment like private equity does. Due to the high volume of assets under management, this requires special attention from law and regulatory agencies. This is especially true when fraud is suspected. Debate continues around whether civil agencies should regulate these industries more or not. Civil regulatory agencies such as the SEC and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission have identified several indicators of fraud in hedge funds. These are lack of trading independence, investor complaints, audit issues, unusually strong performance claims, which happens quite a bit in the companies that are caught. Historically, hedge funds and private equity firms have fallen out of the scope of regulation to allow more sophisticated investors the ability to invest beyond typical regulatory protection. This implies that these funds will remain exempt from regulation so long as they are not openly available to the general public. The current investment climate, which lacks regulatory scrutiny, may tempt unprincipled managers to commit fraud. Private funds play a critical role in capital formation, and they are influential participants in capital markets. Currently, the entire hedge fund industry is experiencing drastic change. What was previously a relatively obscure industry, not many people knowing who or what it operates, it's now becoming more visible in the public eye. To account for this vast change in the hedge fund industry, new legislation is in effect. The Dodd-Frank Act required most private fund advisors to register with the SEC. This resulted in public reporting of basic information regarding businesses, operations, and conflicts of interest. The Dodd-Frank Act directed the SEC to collect information on a confidential basis from private fund advisors regarding the risk profiles of their funds. Meanwhile, the Jobs Act passed by President Barack Obama facilitates transparency and openness in a different way. This directs the SEC to lift the ban on general solicitation, which allows companies to advertise that they are campaigning for investments. In 2012 alone, over $700 billion was raised in this fund. So this begins a new era of openness for public engagement and the availability of information within these firms. This is the first time in regulating these high asset industries, and as recently as 2010, regulators could only see a portion of the financial landscape comprised of these firms. The scope of the market was limited to the advisors who voluntarily registered with the SEC. The SEC knew there was a gap in this knowledge, but the volume and identities of funds were unknown. Roughly 2,500 hedge funds and other private fund investors did step forward. However, there were still some unaccounted for. In the wake of the Dodd-Frank Act, all of that changed. Hedge funds and other private funds were required to become more visible. Soon, 1,500 new hedge funds and private equity advisors appeared, bringing the total to around 4,000. Until then, approximately only one-third of the industry had been accounted for. Today, 40% of the investment advisors manage one or more hedge funds or other private funds. Of course, transparency and openness includes more than just registering with the SEC, filing information publicly, and communicating more freely with the public. Registering with the SEC also requires compliance with business conduct rules. These rules are intended to protect investors and safeguard markets, but they are also rules that should strengthen operations. This may not be the most welcome aspect of the new age of transparency for hedge funds. However, it is an important one because well-conceived rules are ineffective if they are not being followed. The existence of fraudsters in the private fund industry hurts investors and damages the industry's reputation. It is essential that the SEC have strong and vigilant examination going forward on the enforcement to rid of these unscrupulous managers in order to build investor confidence in the fairness and integrity of financial markets. In this new era of transparency and regulatory oversight, it is imperative private equity firms and hedge funds work with the regulators and the imposed laws are implemented effectively. Thank you.